Okay. City Council meeting Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. It is 5:31. We'll have roll call, please.
Council President Kaiser.
Here.
Councilmember Christiansen.
Here.
Councilmember Murray.
Here.
Councilmember Romero.
Here.
Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Monty Sears, could you please lead us in prayer, please?
I will be on.
Thank you.
All righty, would you bow your hearts before the Lord? Father, we come to you tonight in Jesus' name. We thank you for those that you have raised up and placed in seats of authority to guide and direct us. I ask that you would give them wisdom. Father, this is such a cool community, and yet it seems like so many people are moving here, and I can't even imagine the tensions that they're managing. So, Father, I do pray that you would give them wisdom. And, Father, I speak blessings over each and every one of them. I thank you for police officers, firefighters. God, would you bless those who serve us and keep us safe. And, Lord, we thank you for Middleton, Idaho. And we pray that you would continue to bless us. And I pray over the agenda. Father, may your will be done. And I pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, and then I'll take over on number 2.
Yeah, because I got
All right, council, we have an agenda before us, posted March 15th at 4 p.m. Any questions on the agenda? Councilman O'Meara.
Item number 8 on the agenda states that we're getting a $642 fence. I think that's a misprint.
It's
corrected on.
it's corrected.
I got us a deal.
That is a deal, yes.
Oh, on the electronic copy.
Yeah.
All right,
saw the same thing.
so on
I
the,
think there was a 5 that was left out.
It's, let's see, it's $6,432.72.
so say that number again, Jennifer, please.
$6,432.72.
Okay. All right, council, any other questions on the agenda? Then I move we approve the agenda with the correction of the $6,432.76 for item 8.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Action item, information items. I almost missed you, Mr. Comiskey.
Don't do
Mr.
that.
Comiskey, please come up and give us some information.
We do the public comment.
Thank you very much, Council.
Oh, we'll do it right after this. Sorry, I missed the agenda. I'll get it.
for it tonight.
You want to hold up?
Nope, no, sir. You're there. You got the podium. You have the floor.
This is on, correct?
Yes.
Seems to be.
So thanks for having me again, Council, Mayor. I'm going to give a little bit of an update as to somewhat similar to what it was in November for anybody that wasn't here at that time. So Middleton and Star Fire Districts are 2 separate districts with 2 separate boards. But over the last 4 years, we have combined operations for the better service to the citizens, both Middleton and Star. So in 2019, when we started that, we put the administration, the fire chief, the operations chief, the fire marshal, the district administrator, and the assistants all together to operate the 2 fire districts as one. Since then, we've put all the crews together. So the savings to both fire districts over since 2019 has been about $430,000 each. And it's not a total savings, it is a savings, but in a sense, we reinvested that money into boots on the ground, which was the ability to open up Station 52. That's the one on Kingsbury. So now between the two cities, we have the one fire station in between us. So we have 3 stations that take care of the 165 square miles, Middleton being 110, the Star being 55. So that's the little backstory on Middleton and Star. You may have seen something on social media that several people had asked if we got divorced. No, we did not get divorced. We have been put in a situation that we have to ask for levy increases in both districts. And as I mentioned, we have 2 boards with 2 separate budgets. So we had to separate our website and our social media so the folks in the Middleton district can answer the survey and get the information about the Middleton Fire District, and then the same thing on the Star side. So that's why our social media and our website have 2 different pictures than just the Mid-Star logo that we've had for the past 4 years. So it is official, both boards have signed the documentation. We've sent it to the Gem County, Caney County, and Ada County for both districts to ask for a levy increase. Why do we need a levy increase? Our cities and our outside areas, 165 square miles has grown. Specifically, we'll talk about Middleton. 110 square miles has grown, and it's grown out west and north quite rapidly. And we have a building out there on Harvey that we're going to remodel this year and turn it into a staffed fire station. So we have the money. Development does pay for itself with impact fees. We do collect impact fees, and we're going to use that money for doing that building remodel and buying a piece of equipment to put in it. But back in 2020, our legislature passed what they called back then House Bill 389. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It is a bill to reduce our property taxes. And I, just as much as anybody else, love property tax reduction. But when the property taxes get reduced, somebody's budget gets hurt. I'm sure you folks have felt it too in the city of Middleton. And the counties have felt it in all special districts. Special districts weren't taken into consideration when this bill was being built. Fire districts specifically are 97% reliant on property tax. We don't have anything to sell. We can't raise the cost of goods to sell to make more of an income. We are reliant on property tax. If you look at your property taxes, you will see since 2021, when it started to go down, you pay less today to the fire district than you did in 2020. So with that becomes a shortfall for the fire district. We need to staff the station that we're going to remodel out on Harvey Road. And how that helps the citizens in the city of Middleton is it's a second unit that can come down. So I call Harvey Road from here up. It is up, but come down to the city for the secondary calls on the west side. Today in Middleton, we're reliant on that Star Fire Station 52 on Kingsbury that we share, and then Caldwell. Besides that, there isn't anything going to the freeway towards Oregon. There is nothing else that can come. There is no more full-time staff stations. So we need that station for the secondary calls on the west side of the city of Middleton, all the way out to the end of the fire district, which is on the other side of the freeway. As you all well know, we have the freeway in our fire district. We have Old Highway 30 in our fire district, and we have Highway 44. And all of those are private. All of those have a lot of traffic. The fire district covers 7 miles of the freeway. So both directions for 7 miles, we cover the freeway. So when we're out there on any type of an incident, it's usually prolonged. And then you're getting Caldwell, potentially Nampa, or the Star units to come and do the secondary calls. over the last 4 or 5 years, secondary calls in Middleton have gone way up. That it is mostly every single day, at least once or twice, where the current engine that we have in Middleton is on a call and a secondary call comes in. So we have to have a unit come from someplace else. So with the traffic of getting places, so leaving the main fire station in Middleton and going out towards Harvey, towards Gem County line, into Gem County where the fire district goes, some of those responses are 20 minutes. 20 minutes in a house fire doesn't do you any good. 20 minutes for a heart attack doesn't do you any good. 20 minutes for a stroke doesn't do you any good. We need to be able to be there faster, and that Harvey station, staffing that Harvey station is the biggest reason that we're asking for the levy increase. Because of that House Bill 389, we're unable to grow our budget for the budget authority to be able to hire people. Unlike the police department, sewer department, water department, hiring one person is helpful. In most businesses, hiring a person makes a difference in the business. For a fire department, I have to hire 9. It's the minimum that I can have. And we're to the size now that we're gonna have to hire 12. Excuse me. Because we have to allow for time off, injuries, and sick leave. Because we have to have a minimum at each fire station of 3, 24/7, 365. Station locations, excuse me, if you took the time, if you have yet taken the time to see the map that we have put on our website and on that social media, it shows in purple where that station 54 would serve. And you'll see that in the 5-minute response time that it shows, it'll come down into Middleton and also cover a huge territory up on the north end of this district, which is going to be extremely helpful. In the future, we're working on the connection between Blessinger, south of Foothill, north of Foothill, and Kingsbury, north of Foothill. You already have it south, to get up there faster. I mean, for Station 52 or Station 53, which is in Middleton, to get up to that portion of our district, we have to use Canada or Lansing. I mean, farther you get into town, you can get up there to Purple Sage. But for the fastest responses out of all 3 of our stations going to a call, you're gonna have to use Canada, Lansing, and then Duff to get up there to the district where, in Middleton district, that goes all the way to Canada Road, north of Willis, if Willis existed at Canada. That's all Middleton's district, all the way to the Gem County line. That's where we had the fire the other day that most people saw on social media, that we burned a roof off of a house. The response time from Station 52, all 3 of our engines were there training that day. So they were all there, they're all actually dressed, so that was probably the fastest response that call could have, which was still 11 minutes. And because that development is not within a city of Middleton or the city of Star, it has no water. So we ran out of water several times, waiting for the 6 water tenders to arrive. And then to top it off, we had 30-mile-an-hour winds in an attic fire, which they don't go well together. So that's the information I have for you this evening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Chief, could you tell us how long it took to get Station 52 manned after it was actually built?
You bet. Station 52 on Kingsbury was built in 2010, before my time. I came to Star first in 2013, and it was there. We finally were able to staff that station in 2022. That's how long it takes to build the budget authority to hire 9 people. Previously, before the legislation change, we were growing with our communities. Our communities, Star was growing at some point in time 13 to 16%. Middleton's grown 10 to 11%. I'm talking about the entire district now, not just the city. And we were building budget authority. So we would collect more property tax than we needed to fulfill the operational budget. But that number, we need to be able to collect $1.4 million more to hire 9 people. And so once that legislation was passed, we are just collecting enough money now to fulfill an operational budget. The cost of everything, not just for the fire district, for everybody, the cost of everything is high. I can give you an example of the fire truck that Middleton bought and we put into service in 2021 was $602,000. Today, to order that fire truck is $1.1 million, exactly the same truck, $1.1 million, and it'll take me 42 months to get it. So it's out of control. The amount it costs to outfit a firefighter, I hire Councilman Murray, he comes to work for us tomorrow. It's $40,000 to outfit him with everything that we have to outfit him with. 3 years ago it was $30,000. The cost of everything is going up, which is not just a reflection of the fire district, I get that, it's everybody. But when your property taxes get cut, some budget has to suffer. And we're asking you guys to take the survey, to reach out for any questions that might come up on why. And we will be getting more information out on the website and social media on the why. It's just little tiny pieces at a time that we gotta work on.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
so could you say again, where do you access the survey again? Is it being sent, being emailed?
It's on social media,
It's
and
just
it's
on
on our
social
website,
media?
midstarfire.org.
Well,
Okay, so you have to go to it, you're gonna be,
And I believe you live in the Lakes of Topeka.
yes,
You're actually in the Star Fire District.
yeah.
I don't know if I can forgive that.
It's crazy, whoever drew the lines for fire districts, I don't understand it. I've asked that question hundreds of times and I have no idea.
I think it's from times past. But anyway, the point is that, are you sending out anything to bring people into it if they don't know?
We
is
are
it just-
sending things out to homeowners associations. We've asked the city to include it in the utility bill, I believe. Correct?
Yes, we're working with our attorney to make sure that what you're asking us to include is legal, so, yes.
Yeah, it's just information. We, as a fire district, you as a city, already know this, that I can't tell you to vote for it. So we can't put out anything that says to do that. Everything has to be informational.
But this would just be directing them to take the survey. Correct? Okay.
The survey, and then on the website and on social media is more information coming out every day.
Okay. Okay. I think it's just important to make sure that people that aren't necessarily on social media.
I want to say so far, Middleton has had about 500 people. Middleton did the entire district, had about 500 people at least open the survey. And I think we're in the 300s that have completed the survey. As of the ones that have 100% completed the survey, it is mostly very positive. Any questions?
No, but I do have a comment. Just,
Yes, sir.
Mayor Hutchinson, we talked several meetings ago about doing report outs. I saw the report out you did in Star. You had a similar one in Eagle in their city council. So we asked to have some report outs, and of course you'd be included in that. But we're looking forward to hearing that next time
You bet. Just let me
you're
know
on,
when
you're on the
you want me
agenda.
on the agenda, and I'll be here.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much.
All right. I didn't take a close enough look, so we have our public comment on non-agenda items of city business at the start of the meeting.
so we are gonna change that a little bit. According to our attorney, they can discuss anything on the agenda as long as it's not open for public hearing.
Okay. We have one person signed up. David?
So I don't have anything to say about today's agenda, So should we wait till the end of the meeting?
Mhm.
You can,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Okay. And no public comments. All right. Action item number 1 is a consent agenda. Approving minutes from City Council March 6th. Approving minutes for City Council March 13th, special meeting. Ratifying payroll for March 8th. Approving accounts payable through March 8th. And consider approving the FCO for Riverwalk Crossings subdivision development. Council question on consent agenda items? Everything was routine in the bills, standard for this time of month. Okay. And I move we approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, and E.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Number 2, consider adopting ordinance 694, an ordinance enacted by the Middleton City Council, amending Title I, Chapter 4, Section 01-04-02, Middleton City Code pertaining to the general penalty for violations of City Code, amending Title I, Chapter 15, Section 1-15-12, Middleton City Code pertaining to permits for vendors, solicitors, and temporary merchants, providing for an effective date, providing for servability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith. Ms. Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So the city is just coming to you tonight to ask to change the code to increase the rate of penalties. There's a gradation to them. And specifically to change Middleton City Code sections 1-4-2 and 1-15-12. Currently, if a person violates the city code, the city can fine the individual $50 for the first infraction. And then the second infraction will incur a fee of $100, the third $200, and then at the fourth and any subsequent infractions of code, it'll turn into a misdemeanor charge, and that can be a $1,000 fine and or up to 6 months in prison. But recently, over the last few months, city has encountered actually a few individuals who have said, basically, I'm going to keep violating this code and I can incur the fine, and it'll be fine. Until they get to a certain point, I assume that they're going to want to stop. And so city has asked Attorney Douglas Waterman to draft a code section that would increase those fines and also connect our food truck or temporary vending license to this code more acutely or directly. So if we look at the code, 1-4-1 up there is the misdemeanor code, and you'll see it's the $1,000 fine and or 6 months in prison. But what we changed was 1-4-2 for infractions, which is a little lower than a misdemeanor. Specifically, the code says, unless otherwise provided, any person found in violation of any provision of this code or any other ordinance of the city is guilty of an infraction and may be fined $150 for the first offense and $250 for the second offense. Third and subsequent offenses are misdemeanors and punishable as provided in section 1-4-1 above. And then we went down a little further in that section 1-15-12 and added to the section on vendors, temporary merchant permits, and solicitors, those people that go door to door. That's also food trucks, or people who come in for a flea market, that kind of thing. We added section D that says, a violation of this section shall be punishable as provided for in the Middleton City Code 1-4-2. So it'll just take it directly back to these increased fines for infractions. So that's it in a nutshell. And this doesn't have to go to P&Z, it's just a city council consideration.
Berta, can you tell us how many times someone is warned before an infraction occurs?
Well, we have a code enforcement officer, Billy Bobow, and he's getting pretty good at his job. I think it depends on the circumstances. I think always they're warned. I think that in fairness, I just can't say how many times or specifically what the protocol might be.
Is that warning in writing?
Yes, with a code, with the citation to the code that's violated.
Okay.
I think there may be verbal too, just with discussions, because he often will speak with the violator, but the warning is in writing.
Okay.
Can I say something? We had somebody come into the office and they were quite aggressive and they said, I'll just pay the $50 and I'll go back out there and do what I want today. And did. So we thought,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the fee, I just don't want someone's camper set out there too long and now they're getting slapped with $105. Instead of saying, hey, maybe you don't realize this, but that's all I want to get to. I have no problem with the numbers. I just want to make sure that's not the first go-to when we have a violation.
I think the city really does try to act professionally and try to resolve things before they ever get to that level. But there are people that have dragged the city through a year of violations, and you probably have heard about them, and it can get intense.
Yeah.
But the first guy, no, they just get a warning, and hopefully he'll fix it. I think probably most people do fix it, just with the warning.
I think so too. All right. Councilman Murray?
How quickly can we stack these up? So if someone refuses to comply, how quickly can you go from a warning to a misdemeanor? Are we talking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Are we talking about a week in between, 2 weeks?
What I have seen personally is it's actually lengthy periods in between. Say somebody has a dumpy house, the neighbors are complaining. Typically they'll say, here, they'll warn them, they won't clean it up, then they'll do the first infraction and give them 2 or 3 months to clean up. It just depends on the circumstances.
But we're speaking about the vendors and solicitors, right? We're not talking about changing code for violations at a residence.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't apply to that, correct?
No, it would apply to anybody
Across
who
the board.
violates the city code, yeah.
we're pretty lenient. We had a vendor who hadn't had a license for a year and was spoken to a couple of times, but we understood the situation and we're just working through it, and she complied, and you know, we try to be a kind city, but we want to have the tools that when somebody's being belligerent, you know, there's that 1 in 1,000. This gives us that tool to where instead of paying the $50 and just going back out, a higher fine is a little more.
I agree, but it's also hard times for everybody. And I don't know that I like pulling more money out of people's pockets.
Well, that's their option. They can abide by the rules.
And I agree, but if someone is really, being really intractable like you're talking about, then you can stack that higher and get to the misdemeanor.
Right.
If someone, you know, if you issue them a citation and they're genuinely making good faith efforts to address the problem, then you can give them a couple weeks, give them a month. But if you have someone who says, you know, gives you the finger and walks out the door and says, I'm going to do it again, go back out there the next day and stack that up. And so to my mind, that's the proper way to handle it, is to escalate it rather than just saying more money, escalate it up to that misdemeanor, depending upon the situation.
And that works in theory if you have more than one person in charge of something. But I think that from what I've observed, the city is being very kind to those that are making a big effort to try to remedy the situation. This is a tool to deal with that. And it is costly on the city. You know, when we spend time to go out and then go out and then go out and take that one person away from other.
Well, that was going to be my next question, Roberta. Was there any kind of study done on, are we losing money at this point with the fee that we're imposing and the amount of time that it takes to process these, to go out to the site, whatever? Are we losing money? Can we justify raising it simply on the cost of manpower?
So first of all, I don't know the answer to that, but there may be a legal problem with fees and fines and making money.
No, so I phrased that incorrectly.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. What I mean is, are we currently in a deficit between the fee we're imposing and how much it costs the city to process that, to issue, et cetera. So,
Mr. Waterman would like to address that.
Yeah, so I don't have the stats in front of me, but I don't know how many dollars of fees we collected over the course of the past year, but when you compare it to, for example, the salary of the code enforcement officer, it's gonna be a fraction of a percent. So the answer is no. The fees were, well, the penalty being imposed doesn't cover the cost of code enforcement. And the same would be true of how much does it cost to get a speeding ticket issued to somebody in
Right.
terms of gasoline and man time to actually go and do it. It's way more than the 150, I guess, would be really bad, or 75 if you're just being a little bad. So, but penalties don't have to be justified in terms of a cost incurred. They don't have that quality of being fees. And then I guess the other two comments I'd make just real quickly to help contextualize things. The code as it exists now doesn't provide for a notice warning, right? This 141 is the general violation of city code part of the code. So there are other parts about, property code enforcement that may have their own penalties or speeding tickets or things like that. This is the catch-all for, if there's not a specific penalty set out, this is where you look. And the amendment to 115.12 just simply points back at 142, and says that's the code that applies. If we hadn't amended 115.12, 142 would still apply. This just makes it more clear. So when the vendor comes in and is telling the mayor, you don't have the authority to tell me to stop, the code makes it more clear that the city does have authority. And then I don't know when the code was adopted, but one of my favorite little tidbits of legal history is that back in the 70s, the state made it illegal to smoke a pipe, cigarette at a city council meeting or other public meetings. And the fine was not less than $5 and not more than 10. And that hasn't been changed since then. There are other laws that make it so you can't smoke indoors anyway. But when these things are adopted and the sort of economics of it are contemplated, and then time goes by and the economics are different. And I've seen in the context of, you have to have a flagger do flagging work on your construction job. If you don't, we're going to fine you $200. Well, a flagger costs $400, so sign me up.
Pay the fine.
So anyway, this won't put the city in a position where it's any more or less likely to impose a fine immediately than the practice of providing warnings to people is simply a courtesy.
Right.
It could be added to the code. It's not there. That's practically what happens now. It's just sort of good government, and those are the comments I had there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes?
Councilman Mayor.
Mayor Hutchinson, this is not going to affect the kids on the corner selling lemonade, is it?
Oh, no.
No, because I buy it too.
Proceeds for next 50 years.
on the what, Tim?
No,
I can hear you now.
it started with complaints with people going door to door without a license to try to sell items to people, and those people calling us and feeling uncomfortable and sending an officer out to investigate. And then having those people come in and I was down the hall and hearing the conversation, well then I'll just pay the $50 and I'm good for the whole day and you can't do anything. And I'm just like, what?
Okay.
Just trying to look at all the possibilities, and this may be out of the realm of possibility, but the way I read this is we have a progressive fine situation, same person, same code violation, over a series of three different violations. Well, if we had a person that had more than one entity, could be an address, could be whatever the code pertains to, same person has the same code violation in multiple places. So the same progression would take place for each one of those entities. Is that a possibility? Seems to me that the codes apply in different ways and different things. Could be an address, could be, an apartment owner that has, but I don't know if that's ever happened or if it's reasonable to expect that to happen, but.
Not that I've seen in the last 3 years.
Whatever, Mayor and Council, whatever the law is, there's going to be some novel way to circumvent it or attempt to circumvent it. So if we add something about, well, if you're a partial owner of those entities, then they all stack together, then somebody says, well, my brother be the partial owner, I'll just be an employee of his. And so, you know, there are always ways to try to circumvent the law, and this is a generally drafted ordinance to generally do what it's supposed to do. In the event that that becomes a recurring issue, we can certainly come back and address it. But I believe that the gentleman who was the sort of gave
Trigger.
rise to this was just an individual and would have been cited individually. If he came back the next day as an individual, gets cited again. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, but I'll let it go.
All right. I move that we read ordinance number 694 by title only.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Council President Kaiser.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Meara.
Yes.
Councilmember Christiansen.
Yes.
Councilmember Murray.
Yes.
Ordinance 694 reads, an ordinance enacted by Middleton City Council amending Title I, Chapter 4, Section 0401-0402, Middleton City Code pertaining to the general penalty for violations of the City Code, amending Title I, Chapter 15, Section 1-15-12, Middleton City Code pertaining to permits for vendors, solicitors, and temporary merchants, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewithin. I move we waive the 3 reading rule and adopt ordinance number 694.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Council President Kaiser.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Meara.
Yes.
Councilmember Christiansen.
Yes.
Councilmember Murray.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Number 3, consider adopting ordinance 695, an ordinance enacted by Middleton City Council, amending Title I, Chapter 15, Section 01-15-11-04, Middleton City Code, pertaining to the requirements and criteria for sign permit approval, providing for an effective date, providing for servability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith. Ms. Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So now we're going to look at a change to the sign ordinance. So it's a request from the City of Middleton for amendment to the sign ordinance, specifically Middleton City Code 1-15-11-4. City is requesting that freestanding signs, also known as pylon signs or monument signs, should be limited in height based upon the size of the commercial or industrial buildings. So currently in our code, any commercial or industrial business can install a freestanding sign as high as 30 feet. So this sign here that I put up there is actually the little building right next door, the what is it, Edward Jones building, which is a lovely building. There's a little single-story cottage. And Zing has a large facility behind it. And this is the sign permit that they submitted, and you can see, I think the perspective is off just a little bit. It looks like a grown man, but it's not off too much. So their sign is only 22 feet, but it's taller than the little cottage building. It's just out of proportion. But I can't say no to the sign permit because the code allows them to do up to 30 feet. So let's look at other examples. Here's the attorney just up here on the north side of Highway 44, Morgan Law Firm, and then he has a reader board on there. Again, another little cottage building, and his sign is as high as his roof line almost. And then also notice at the base, that's brick there, but it's actually brick wallpaper. So now that you know that, you're going to see it every time you drive by, and it will bug you. I was quite disturbed when I noticed that wallpaper, or somebody told me. So anyway, but again, it's that out of proportion, that sign. So if we go to the sign code specifically, it's a matrix, and I only plucked a portion of it. And so we're adding where it says height, there's a little 9 there, it's hard to see, but it'll be a footnote. And then the height for a freestanding sign will be 8 feet or 15 feet. And then you have to scroll down in the code to footnote 9. And it will be added to say, the maximum height for a freestanding sign for a single parcel or for a subdivision for commercial, business, or industrial, with building space totaling less than 40,000 square feet shall be 8 feet. That's the maximum height. If you have 40,000 square feet buildings or less, actually less than that, 8 feet. But if you have a freestanding sign for a parcel or a commercial, business, industrial, retail subdivision that has building space totaling 40,000 square feet or more, then the height can go up to 15 feet. And then we added at the bottom, just you'll scroll down in the code a little bit more. When you have a freestanding sign, the structure supporting the freestanding sign shall be made of a combination of at least 2 of the following materials: stucco, wood or faux wood, metal, masonry, stone or cultured stone, or other similar material of a more permanent nature, not wallpaper or plastic or things like that. And then we'll get rid of pylon signs. So it's just a pole with, the sign copy area. So the reason for the changes to the sign code is aesthetics. And we're trying to create a quaint, small town atmosphere, but if Main Street becomes a corridor lined with large 30-foot high pylon signs, then we're not going to be charming. It'll be garish and it could be over-commercialized. But I want to give you perspective of what 40,000 square foot looks like, so you know kind of what kind of sign will go with what kind of building. So if you look at Ridley's over here on the left-hand side, Ridley's is approximately 55,000 square foot. So they would be able to do a 15-foot high sign. And the sign they have now is taller than that, and it would be non-conforming, it'd be fine. No one would make them go back and fix it. If you look at Middleton Village, and that's where Garbanzo Pizza is and the Dollar Tree, that whole structure, that retail strip, is 45,000 square foot. So they would get the larger 15-foot sign. But if you looked at Tractor Supply, down here a little bit, their building space is 21,000 square feet, and they would be limited to an 8-foot high sign. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's just, do you want to be a commercialized corridor, or do you want to keep signs to a minimum? Our sign ordinance, I'll tell you, is very minimal, very rudimentary. There are sign ordinances in other cities, Doug can attest to this, are bigger than the rest of the code. It can get crazy. But we still do need to make sure that we have some, protections.
Council questions?
Yes.
Council?
Just kind of curious, the genesis of this, is it purely aesthetics, or I would think if I were a business owner, signage has a great deal to do with people coming into my establishment. And if there are other buildings that are around me that are taller than my sign, even at 15 feet, they're not going to see it until they drive by. So I'm a little concerned about that for the business community. I mean, it seems to me that 8 and 15 feet is pretty low. But I also understand aesthetics. We all want to have a very nice, appealing drive as we go through our town of Middleton. But at the same time, we have to take care of our businesses. So to answer my question is it purely aesthetics, or have we allowed the business community to speak on this? And have we done more than just say, let's do this?
May I address that?
Sure, of course.
As a business owner and
Sure.
and a person who also does commercial building, it doesn't limit that business from putting a sign on across their building.
Okay.
In other words, you can put Trader Joe's.
Mhm.
You just don't have a huge sign that's way up there lighting up all the homes behind it and having a more commercial show and keeping the town more quaint and charming, I think was the word you used. So you have that opportunity to get your name out there. And we're not gonna limit that. We might in the future limit on how the lighting is, I mean, whether it's neon or something like that. But no, you'll, as a business owner, if you wanna open a Trader Joe's here in town, you'll have a cross, but out on the street, instead of 30 feet high and seeing it 2 miles down the road, it won't be.
Yeah, that's a great comment. I was gonna ask about that. But the problem is if your building is facing this way and the road is going the same parallel to your building, a car driving by is not gonna see it until they passed it. If it's
I've
on
never
the
had
front.
that problem. And the other thing is other towns are now moving in this same direction. By limiting the height of your signs and the way they're lit, it's the availability to still see the stars in the sky and that kind of thing in a smaller town is part of the consideration. If you have a great product, people are gonna find you if you're 4 blocks off Main Street.
True. But I still have a concern. I think that my opinion would be, have we talked to the business community, and I know that you're a businesswoman, so am I. And I just wonder if we've had discussion with them.
Well, we haven't had a broad, pervasive discussion with the business community. I think their answer probably would be, yes, we want signage and as much and as big as we can get. And I don't blame them. I mean, that's how you sell. But I have talked recently, specifically with the zine sign, and I said, I can't stop you. I mean, the code allows this sign, but it is way out of proportion. They said, we're gonna do it anyway. We
So-
want signs. And that's
How
and
does
that's fine, they're
this work?
entitled.
Councilman Murray?
Are you sure?
How does this compare with other cities of our size in terms of their?
Well, I would say with Eagle, they have a really stringent sign code, and I mean, you can go too far, and you can hardly find the Wendy's because there's no signs. And then there's Meridian, and they all have complicated sign codes, very complicated. But I think we're pretty easy on signs. Right now we are.
Well, in Eagle, they give you a fine if you don't lift your pinky when you're drinking your tea, so it's not a very good example.
Actually, they don't do that there. They got rid of that code about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So, as a general concept, I am not big on the idea of telling a business what they can do on their property. Regardless of the ratio of sign to building size, if that business wants, that's a handsome sign, I think. I think it's good looking. It might be bigger than their building, but I'm not gonna tell a 7-foot tall guy he can't buy a Miata. I might say you're not gonna be comfortable, but he can do what he wants. Now, I'll suggest a compromise. I believe under code, and I don't know exactly what section we'd have to cite or how it would be written, but we can designate a corridor that this would apply to preserve that downtown feeling. Outside of it, where new building is gonna happen, east and west ends of town, it wouldn't apply, and you could have your bigger chain restaurants and stores where you could have the signs that they want. So that's the compromise that I would put forward. Designate a downtown corridor. You can apply this and other similar aesthetic codes, but we don't need to do anything that's gonna turn off commercial or industrial from coming to this town. People tell me all the time they want the property taxes lowered. The best way we can do that is get businesses here. So I'm not in favor of doing anything that's gonna send the wrong message.
I guarantee you that if there's money to be made in this town, they're not gonna walk away because their sign isn't higher than, allowed than 15 feet.
There's been a lot of people who walk away from this town just because
In
they
the
don't want
past.
to deal with the drama. And if they can get that money elsewhere and it's easier and they don't have to jump through so many hoops, they will.
Okay.
Councilman Murray.
Just my opinion, but having driven through our community for years and years, My wife still misses signs. It doesn't matter how big they are. So to me, if I'm driving down the road, I can see your sign out by the curb. It shouldn't be monstrous, okay? If you want it on your building, it's huge, I got no problem with that. Ridley's 20 feet high and 60 feet wide. It's on your building, I don't got a problem with it. But out on the street, visibility around signs can really be a pain in the butt. And I just assume we keep our signs back away from the street and a little bit smaller alongside the road. Just my opinion.
Councilman Christensen?
So can we compromise on the height? I think 8 feet, that's a little taller than me. And I'm 6 feet, so that's not a very big sign. And 15 feet is a little more than twice of me. So that's not a very big sign. I'm just wondering if there's where these numbers came from, and to me, that's an area that we need to probably research a little bit more, in my opinion. Once we do this, of course, you can change ordinances. But I think, I agree with what's been said. I think that this might be a little aggressive.
Yeah, you're the decision makers, and if you think that they need to be taller, then, I mean, there's no right or wrong or morally wrong way with this. Just direct us accordingly, and
I have a problem with the size. I have a hard time seeing an 8-foot sign in front of Tractor Supply. I mean, that just doesn't I can't picture that in my head. I like the corridor idea. Because as you get out, if you're leaving Middleton Road, as that develops there, that commercial property, that industrial, their size signs are gonna vary, especially if they're gonna have one out that says, these 5 businesses are in here, turn right here. You're going to need larger than a 15-foot sign for it to be clearly visible. And I do not want them to say, nah, I don't like that, or complain about it. So I don't like the height is where I have a problem. I don't mind it if you're in town, that makes sense, I could see that, sure. But now they're competing with those non-conforming signs that are already there and been there for 30, 40 years. So now you really have discrepancy if any business decides to go downtown. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the heights myself. Councilman Murray.
I forgot a little zinger for Roberta. You're criticizing the materials, but I didn't know it was wallpaper until
Now
you told me.
Now you do. You can't unsee.
So I was fine.
It will bug you.
Then Council, I'm gonna move to just some direction here. Me personally, I'd like to table it, get more information on sign height, come back to it. I agree the blanket 30 foot might be a little, I mean, as we grow, it would be nice to have a little more say in that. But I would like to see kind of, I don't know, I just need time to process myself. That's where I'm at. I don't know where the rest of council is.
I wonder if we should, I agree, and I wonder if we should be looking at other cities and towns. I don't know if that's always a good idea. Everybody's gonna be a little bit
Yeah.
different. We have to make it what's right for us, but at the same time, if we looked at other examples, we might be able to come up with a common denominator that fits.
Maybe we can put together some perspectives with, to just show this is what a 20-foot sign would look like against Tractor Supply, or right now they have a pylon sign out there that I think is around 22 feet. So I can bring in, I can bring in, and then you can make a more measured decision.
Okay.
Can I go a little bit further down that rabbit hole real quick, Rob?
Absolutely.
So, in what we would call our downtown corridor, the lots aren't big enough anyways for most modern businesses to want to get in there. Lots are pretty small. So if we were to designate that as a downtown corridor and start putting in aesthetic code requirements to preserve or enhance that, I'm all on board with that. And then that still leaves the outskirts where new chain, whatever businesses can go and not have to worry about all those hoops. So in my mind, that's a win-win. We still have plenty of area available to welcome those businesses in, but then we still have that downtown corridor that we can focus on and make it into what we want to see.
And just as an aside, I hope that becomes a part of the discussion with the comp plan update, because that would be a zoning overlay when you have a special place, maybe a historical district, a downtown district, and you could say things, signs need to look this way, lamp poles need to look this way, benches need to look this way, streets will be this size. There's all kinds of things you can do to really make your downtown a place. So, and we really need to focus on that this next year as we dive into the comp plan.
Can you have that next meeting, or?
The signs?
Yeah, the sign, or would a month
Maybe
from now be
June,
better?
maybe June. Give us some.
June, I wanna make sure you have adequate time.
Yeah, if I can't get it to, there's a lot going on, so if I can't get it to the next meeting,
Okay,
then
well,
that's the following
let's
meeting.
push it out then.
Yeah, and I'll try to just get some pictures and think about it a little bit more and give some options.
Okay,
And you guys
let's,
can choose.
let's push it to, and I don't know what that date is.
We don't need to table it at all. We can just, I'll just bring it again.
So just no action taken.
Mayor and council, this isn't a public hearing, so there's no obligation to set a date and time certain. You can simply direct Roberta to bring it back when she's got the information you're asking for.
Okay.
All right, well, Berta has her task list.
Thank you.
Real quick, Rob, I'm sorry, 1 second. If we limit height, you're gonna have more of a safety issue as well. Because whereas you may have been able to have a pole with a sign higher up, you're now gonna limit the height of that, and you're gonna have to have the sign lower down, which is gonna meet obstruction. So try to keep that in mind when you're thinking
Side
about it.
triangle, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, our code already addresses that.
Okay.
They can't be in a side triangle. So, but yeah, good point. Thank you very much.
Continue on. Number 4, consider authorizing the mayor to enter a purchase with a new copier for Kanaka?
Conica.
Conica? Malota? Malata?
Conica
And
Minolta.
Motuta? No. Thank you. In the amount not to exceed $9,959 with an unlimited maintenance service contract of $150 per
Vote to
month
table it.
for 60
She's
months.
just gonna bring it back.
Okay.
$9,000, or execute a lease agreement for same copier in the amount of $385 per month for 60 months for $23,100. The outright purchase would save the city $4,505. Ms. Miles.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I wasn't planning on having to come before you and ask for a new copier, but the story is, in 2020, the city bought a new copier for City Hall, and we gave our old copier to the police, our stepchildren. I'm just kidding. But you feel like that, you get the hand-me-downs or whatever, right? So we did that, and the maintenance contract on that copier that we gave to the police kept going up, and now they can't even get parts for it. It's obsolete, so if it breaks, it's gone, basically. And so we've been paying $350 a month for the maintenance on that. And I had thought when we got the new copier with the lower maintenance and all that, I thought the other one went away. I didn't even think that we were still having that maintenance contract on there. And the bills kept coming in, and I'm like, what is going on? And so, long story short, the copier guy told us all of this stuff is going on. And so the solution is to buy a new copier or lease a copier. So that's what the decision is going to be tonight, is whether we want to purchase it outright or whether we want to lease it. And the lease is just I shouldn't say just, but it's $20 more than what we were paying for the maintenance for this new copier. So the way it works is the current copier with the city, the police do about 800 copies a month, and the city does about 6,000 copies a month. So the idea was we'd go ahead and purchase the copier outright for the savings of $4,000. Give our 2-year-old copier, or 3-year-old, it's 4 years old now, to the police, because this one is really a good copier and it'll serve them for a long time, but the contract on this one is so much cents for a color copy versus a black and white is fraction of pennies per copy, and so it's It's not an unlimited maintenance, and the new machine would be an unlimited maintenance. So that's why we want City Hall to have the new one, because we do so much more copies. So it'll save the city in the maintenance part of it to give the current copier to the police. And so that's what I'm basically here for you guys to tell me whether you're okay with purchasing an outright and saving the city $4,000, or do you want to go with the lease and pay on a lease?
So what's the lease, what's the purchase price?
The purchase price is $9,000.
$959, that's that one. And then
Yes.
the lease price would be
$385
per month?
a month for 5 years.
Okay.
Okay, so that comes out to be $23,100.
And if we buy it outright, we still, it's $150 a month for the, and will that go until we don't no longer need it? How will that, is it a yearly contract, the maintenance?
Yeah, so the maintenance one, they've quoted it for the same term, 60 months. In the lease piece, and I'm not positive if it's true if we outright buy it, but in the lease piece with the maintenance included in that, they were saying that it's $150 for the first 12 months, and then it goes up 10% a year. So it'd be $165 for month 13 to 24, and then it'd go to 10% more from 25 to 36. So it just kind of goes up based like that. But I'm not positive if it's going to go up that way if we outright purchase it. But I would imagine that it will have some type of increase annually.
Okay.
Kaiser, so Lindy, on the lease, are there any advantages to us in going with the lease? So the 150 would be consumed in the lease, would be part of the lease. Is that correct?
Yes. Mhm.
So we'd eliminate that. Are there any other things such as replacement parts or things like that?
No,
that might be under
everything in that
warranty or-
maintenance agreement is covering everything. So anything that breaks on that machine is fully covered, and it pays for the toner. It includes all of that. The only thing
And
it doesn't
so-
include is paper. It's still the paper.
So at the end of the lease, what's the disposition of the printer? Is it replaced? Do we have to go
At
into
the end of the
a new
lease, we can buy it for
arrangement?
$1, and it's
Okay.
ours.
Okay.
Okay.
But if we go with the new one, then it'll start the same process that we're going through right now all over again. Meaning, I'm trying to find, is there any other advantage to a lease that might offset the cost difference?
I don't see an advantage to the lease. It's gonna cost the city more money.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Murray?
Wendy, I'm asking this because you told me to. Is this a budgeted item? And if not, where's the money coming from?
Thank you. Thank you, David. It is not a budgeted item, and I had gone through the budget to try to find out where am I gonna pull this out of. And so I've got about $3,500 coming out of the general fund, $2,000 out of the street fund, $2,000 out of water, and $2,000 out of sewer. That's how I'm gonna try and work that magic.
Well, you told me, I always need to ask everybody, so I'm asking.
I like it, thank you.
Do we own the current one?
We own the current one, yeah. We bought it for $6,629, just like that gentleman who was
Fire
talking.
truck.
Everything has gone up, I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So it's toast and there's no,
Oh, no, our one that we bought for $6,000 is beautiful. It's a beautiful machine.
Oh,
It's
so-
4 years old and it is beautiful. We love it and we use it
so we'll
all the
have
time.
two of them.
So that one's gonna go to the police.
Police.
Okay.
Okay, and in this, the cost is included for them to transport that to the police station, our current one, and then we'll get the new one, because we just do so much more volume. They're really not our stepchildren, we love the police, and we wanna give them and we
Sure.
try to give them everything that we can give them that they need.
And the maintenance contract on the one they have now, it has a copy cap, right?
Oh.
And then once you go past that cap, the maintenance fees increase, correct? That's what you said earlier?
The maintenance is.
The maintenance contract, the cost increases when you get up above that certain cap? Isn't that what you said earlier?
How is the new one, explain the maintenance contract for the current printer?
So the maintenance contract for the new one, if you
No, not
decide.
the new one, the current.
Oh, the current one, okay. Hold on, let me get to my little cheat notes here. You know, in school, when you're taking the test, you have to have your little, well, actually, when you're taking the test, you better not have them.
It's an open book test, you're okay.
Yeah, then you're okay. No, I don't do that. Sorry. Okay, so the current copier that we have now, we are paying for color copiers, we have to pay 0.05 cents per color copier and 0.007 for a black and white. It's the basic maintenance we pay. I believe we're paying, oh gosh, I probably shouldn't quote you a number, but I think we're paying $120 for our maintenance contract, and it includes, but then we have to pay for every copy on top of that. So the machine, they come in, they read it, how many copies have we done, and that gets added onto it. So, and it's this basic same, and if the copier breaks, they come, they fix it, they provide all the parts and all of that stuff. But we have to pay for every copy that we do. The new copier and the maintenance, it doesn't matter how many copies we do, it's $150 a month.
And since the PD only does, what, a tenth?
800.
About a tenth of what City Hall
Yes,
does. We're gonna
yes.
save money on the maintenance agreement on the old one by shifting it down to PD, who does less copying. And the new one will have unlimited, so.
Would the cost of that be out of the same budget, or would it be a different budget? In other words, would it give us allowance to credit toward the new copier by shifting budgets to the police?
Okay, so currently the police don't pay for anything for their copier. I have not. So general fund money is general fund money, right? We have all, and they're part of the general fund. I just don't pull it from their budget because the things that we do pull from their budget already is so much. I mean, you know. And so the general fund is paying for these maintenance contracts, not the police fund per se.
It comes out of the same bank.
Yeah, it comes
But
out, and so, but
I was hoping you would
their
give us a
actual
little
little budget
squeeze.
piece of their, like I've given you the financial, or the budget updated, these costs don't come out of their piece of that budget, right?
Okay.
It's coming out of the general fund mostly. It gets split between general fund and then the enterprise funds, because we do a lot of copies and work for all of them.
Okay.
Mayor, can I ask a question of Wendy that I think could provide clarification? Wendy, does the city currently pay for the individual toners that we have to have, or are those part of the maintenance agreement?
They are part of the maintenance.
The city doesn't pay additionally?
No,
For
not
the-
for the toners on our copiers.
Oh,
Our
I thought
printers,
we did.
no.
Okay.
So the toners included, which those are expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a bit of a savings in itself. Did you, Councilman Murray, did you have something?
I'm good.
Makes sense to me to buy it, obviously save money, so I'll craft that accordingly.
Bill?
Any other questions, concerns, Councilman Murray, you had?
No, never mind. You got it.
Okay. All right, then I move we authorize the mayor to purchase new copier from Konica Minolta in the amount not to exceed $9,959 with an unlimited maintenance service contract of $150 a month for 60 months.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we're gonna call up action item, go ahead.
You want to go to number 10?
We're gonna call up action item number 10. Ms. Miles has been here since 6 this morning. Consider approving Resolution 506-27, a resolution of the Middleton City Council, Middleton, Canyon County, Idaho, adopting a revised policy in the employee handbook regarding police compensation in accordance with the Fair Labor Standards Act and providing an effective date. Ms. Miles.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So this is just changing in the employee handbook from paying police officers. Right, currently, as stated in our employee handbook, they don't earn overtime until they have worked over 171 hours in a 28-day pay period. The Section 7K of the FLSA states, and it was in our handbook, but it stopped right at the 28 days. But there's another part of that section that says, while law enforcement personnel must receive overtime after 86 hours worked during a 14-day work period. So what I understand, I called ICRIMP, because this was brought to my attention by our new sergeant, and one of the newer officers had worked within that 2-week period, and at one of those weeks, in that 2-week period, he had worked over the 86 hours, and I guess he had worked at Caldwell before, and he was wondering why he didn't get paid overtime for that, and I explained it, and then the code was brought up, this FLSA, Section 7 was brought up with this other part, this other section, and so I called our ICRIMP to Tammy Middleton and asked her about that, and she said, that if you're paying your officers in a 28-day period, so if they're getting paid once a month, then the 171 is what you would do. But if they're getting paid twice a month, which our officers, well, we're getting paid every other week, we're paying them in a 14-day pay period, that you might want to pay them overtime on the 86, or that we should be paying them overtime on anything over 86 hours. And so I said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that we needed to do this. I got all, Becky's gone, right? And so I want to make sure that the city is doing the right thing. And I said, so what would happen if I hadn't been doing that? And she said, well, if you knew it and you were doing it anyways, you would have to do a 3-year look back and make restitution, make it right. But since you didn't know, you could do a 2-year look back. So I went ahead and it took me a whole day, but I went back 2 years and looked at how we were paying our officers on the 171 versus paying them on anything over the 86. It was interesting to know they got paid. I only owe two officers hours. I owed a couple other officers, but very minimal. So I feel I wanted to bring this forward. I've also, Jenica contacted Caldwell and talked to their finance person, and she said that they understood it because they have an FLSA guy come out all the time to their city and talk to them about different things, that you could choose whether you're going to choose, whether you want to pay your officers in the 171 within 28 days or in the 986 in the 14. Caldwell has chosen to pay their officers overtime hours in anything 160 in the 28-day period. She said, you're allowed to choose, but nowhere does it say it in the rules that you're allowed to choose. So I'm listening to what Caldwell said, and I'm listening to what our liability insurance people say. And I think for the protection of the city, and the chief agrees that he would like to see us go to the 86 hours in a 14-day period. We pay them in a 14-day period, and so I think it's really good for us to move to that. And what's also interesting is after the Caldwell lady got off the phone with Jenica, she ran to HR and said, are we doing this right? So I don't want to deal with that again. I don't want to have that scare. I think it would be really good for us to make this change.
I agree with the liability part. Let's, so any questions?
Just for point of clarification, I had a conversation today earlier. The rate is not going to change. In fact, if we've only had a handful of people go into what would be considered a violation, not a violation, but it doesn't seem to be, it happens that often.
And I was told that it wouldn't have been a violation. What we did wasn't wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. There was,
Well, my point is, it wouldn't have been an aberration of what we are talking about enacting now. In other words, there aren't that many circumstances where we would go beyond the scope of this
right.
resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
Douglas, do I need to put the title in the motion?
Council, no, this is
Just a resolution.
Yeah.
Council, then I move that we approve resolution number 506-24.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mayor, now would be a good time for break. We do have a handful of
I
high school
agree.
kids.
Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break.
6:46.
Yep, 6:40.
Use the restroom.
Your watch is the same as mine.
Get them signed. Anybody sign?
Oh, you should have.
I'm sorry? Sorry. Had to leave already? Oh, man, she only gets half the time.